Welcome to our healthcare panel. Tonight, we have 4 panelists that I'd like to introduce to all of you. We have Angela Brown from Cassia. We have Rob Brock from Boston Scientific. We have Aneela Idnani from HabitAware, and we've got Kristi Moline from Bethel University. My name is Molly Wickam, and I'm going to be your moderator tonight. And we've got Judy Jones, who is here today as well, providing technical support.
Sure, I had a hard time narrowing my list because in our area, there's just a lot of ways you can go. So there are, I guess I want to start by saying there's a lot of non-degree required positions that people can enter either as a career or profession in and of itself, or to use as a transition. So for example, we have a lot of people who come as a nursing assistant or who work in our culinary department as a cook or as a dietary aide. And we have people who stay in those careers for their lifetime. We have other people who say, you know, I did that for a year while I was working on my degree or while I was trying to decide where else within the organization I wanted to progress and to enhance my knowledge. So I think that's one thing that's really nice about the healthcare area and older adult services. So there's the obvious ones that you think of, you know, nurses. We need nurses, we need nurse leaders, not just people who do hands-on care, which is extremely important. And one of the things I think that's unique about older adult services is that you develop a relationship with those people you're caring for, because they're many times, not always, but many times there for a long time, versus hospital care, which can be very episodic and there for a couple days. But nurses who are leaders as well, who oversee a department or who oversee that functional area and help implement changes and new regulations and lead that team and that staff. So a couple different levels there. Social workers who are working with families and helping them navigate many of the decisions and care needs that come along. So social workers are big. Marketing and sales, we have new communities that we just need to get the word out, and who meets with those folks and helps them understand kind of that sales aspect and so forth. We have a whole culinary team, you know, that creative side of things of how do we, you know, food is a big thing for older people, let me tell you. It's a big thing for all of us, right? But when a lot of other things are taken away from you as far as your ability to make choices and be independent, food and dining experience is big. So we have a lot of culinary leadership, again, all the way from a dietary aide to someone who plans menus and executes the presentation and so forth. Environmental services, we have people who have, you know, architecture backgrounds or who have building mechanical backgrounds who help either design new projects or who are maintaining our existing entities and buildings, and thinking through, like even from an architect standpoint, you know, what types of design features would work well for somebody who has certain impairments or certain memory loss. So some really fun things that can be done from a creative standpoint there. We have your, what I would say, more typical professional, you know, things from IT and accounting and HR, those folks who are making things run behind the scenes. We are a nonprofit, so we have a philanthropy and fund development area. So those are people who are either working directly with donors or who are doing event planning, putting on golf tournaments and galas and those kinds of things to raise money. We have chaplains because we are a faith-based organization. We serve residents of any and all faith backgrounds, but we do have Christian chaplains who are part of our organization. We have our own pharmacy. So we have pharmacy technicians and pharmacists who are part of that. We have a medical products company, and so there's people involved in sales. And then there are site leaders at each of our nursing homes or assisted livings or apartment complexes and so forth, who oversee that whole location, that whole campus, that whole community. And those people come from a variety of backgrounds. Some people, again, as I said, took that straight path, and they knew when they went to college that this is what they wanted to do. And so they got a degree in that, and that's where they, you know, landed. Other people have come from a variety of areas, but have those skill sets that we talked about earlier and said, hey, you know, I stumbled into this area and I realized I really like healthcare. And I feel like, you know, I do have the skills that transfer over into leading in this particular area. So that is one of those things that doesn't have to be a straight path and can be a successful environment for people from a whole variety of backgrounds. So I'm sure I'm missing some, but I tried to narrow it down to that list. So that's the list for now.
That is a very wide enlarged list. I don't think there's any job I didn't hear about in that list. That's amazing. Rob, I bet I'm going to hear another big list.
Yeah, probably. At Boston Scientific, there are a lot of different ways that you can be involved that are, let's say, healthcare, in that where this is our domain, but the traditional accounting and human resources, as Angela had mentioned, our finance group. But unique to Boston Scientific, there are some other roles that might be interesting entry points into the organization as well, like technical communications. We have a large team that does technical writing for all of our products, because we have to document and write guides and manuals for our patients and doctors and nurses using them. We have a very large regulatory organization, and that's, again, a lot more writing, because every time that we create new products, we have to create massive submissions to regulatory authorities, where we describe all of the development of the products and the testing of the products and everything that goes into that. So a very large regulatory organization. We also have a large compliance organization that makes sure that we're continuing to follow all the regulatory laws. And so both of those roles, technical writing, regulatory compliance, it's a lot of writing, but it's just an analyst type of role, an analyst role where you're coming at something and you might not even know what you're going to get, but you have to investigate what's going on and then be able to report on it. We also have a large quality organization. So anytime one of our products is used by any physician anywhere in the world and something unexpected happens, even as small as the packaging was not right, maybe it was, or it was difficult to open, or it didn't work exactly as they expected, that becomes a product experience that we actually record and we investigate and we track that and look for ways to continue to improve our products as well. So large quality organization, and that's just once the products have been developed. If we back up further from that, then we have, of course, the manufacturing process, and there's how do we optimize manufacturing. We have manufacturing sites in the US, in Central America, in Europe, in China, and in India. We do manufacturing and development there. And so there's a lot of roles involved with manufacturing and optimizing that, and it's clean room manufacturing. And so there's a lot of people that come into the organization like that, where you're coming in and you're having to electrostatically clean yourself. You're putting on like a bunny suit and a hat and gloves and everything just to be able to manufacture the products. Everything is tracked very carefully there. And then backing up from that, just the development of the products. There are mechanical engineers that design the products themselves, that design the packaging for it, that design all the external systems. So every one of our like an implantable pacemaker has programming systems that interact with it, home monitoring systems that will track it when a patient's sleeping at home. So then mechanical engineers, electrical engineers that develop the operations internal to that, and then the software engineers and the firmware engineers that build all of the basically the operation of the products. We have a large software firmware engineering group as well. And so that's just a massive group. And then backing up from that, then all of our research scientists that are investigating what can we do to impact the patient's physiology to improve either an outcome or to help them treat an illness or a chronic condition or whatever. Once we get the products out in the field, then we have, I didn't even talk about my own organization, marketing. We have to define and develop and sell the product, but then we get the products out in the field, and our sales reps are a different type of force. It's not a traditional, just pure sales role. Parts of medtech are. Like as you get closer to something more like pharmaceuticals, you have to know your product and you sell it. But in med tech, the reps are actually often technical consultants and are involved with the actual procedures. And so most of our reps are actually in the operating room, in the implant suite. They are scrubbed in as a part of that care team and are providing the products and then are programming those products as well. We also have an organization where some people come into it from highly technical roles, like a lot of a very interesting opportunity. A lot of people that are graduating with, say, a bachelor's degree in the sciences, would come into one of our support organizations. And so we maintain a couple of large call centers where if a doctor or a nurse has a question about our products or a patient has a question about our products, they call and talk to those folks. And so you got to have a high degree of knowledge for that. So a massive spectrum of things that you could do to come into the company. And what's cool about a big company like this is there's a lot of movement back and forth. And so like I just had a call today from somebody who had been a nurse for a while and then came in and was working with Boston Scientific for a while, then went back to nursing and has now come back in a house again, working with one of our patient safety groups. And so it's a small group of doctors and nurses that are employed by the company to track all of our products and everything that's happening with them in the field and learning how we can make them better. So it's a pretty exciting place to be. One cool thing about, and I think a lot of big organizations like Boston Scientific will do this, but every year we do a patient quality day where we bring patients that have been impacted by our products on campus typically, and then they will tell their story. And then what's pretty cool is no matter what part of the organization you're in, if they'll say somebody here has an Emblem implantable cardioverter defibrillator, anybody that's worked on Emblem at all, touched it in any way, would you please stand? And so whether you've worked on it from an accounting standpoint or all the way through manufacturing or design or support, there will be hundreds of people that will stand up, and it's pretty impactful. So no matter what your role is in the organization, it's one of the reasons why people that come to work at Boston Scientific or in MedTech don't like to leave, because they feel that connection every single day. Like what I do really, really matters. So it's a lot of fun.
That is fantastic. And thank you for describing that. That is really an interesting way to show employees how much they're valued and the impact that they're making. Aneela, how about HabitAware?
Yeah, as Rob was listing off all these different hardware engineer, packaging design, quality assurance, manufacturing, shipping, accounting, legal, it's all a lot of the same stuff, data science, software engineering, Facebook ads, social media, all that stuff, marketing on the marketing side, customer support, except we have one product and 8 people doing all of that. So, one day I'm doing the packaging design, and the next day I'm doing a customer service call, and the next day I'm doing taking out the trash. That's the life of being in a startup. But that is our goal and our vision, to become more like a Boston Scientific type size as we continue to innovate and grow. So it's really awesome to hear how you've been able to silo some of that stuff, as well as keep the community and everyone involved in that value creation. But yeah, in terms of careers, it's interesting. A lot of the careers we're talking about in healthcare don't necessarily need a healthcare degree. You can still make that impact without having the MD after your name, if you will. And honestly, that's kind of that's the great thing, is that you can make that impact. You have to have knowledge, but as we said before, it's mostly the soft skills, because the knowledge can come. So yeah, we're kind of all over the map in that way. From the engineering side, you can kind of see in the back and John's our lead hardware engineer and co-founder, his table with kind of all his machinery. And if I turn a little bit, you can see like the jigs and stuff that he tests our product. And Samir is our CEO and also does accounting and legal. So, as we grow, those are the positions that we'll be looking to hire for.
Of all those things that you do, Aneela, what's your favorite?
Oh, my favorite, like Rob kind of mentioned, talking with customers. My absolute favorite is just hanging out on Instagram and talking with customers. It's and making creative for our Instagram account to kind of keep people engaged and sort of keep their hope alive that they can make this hard life change, and we're there to support them.
Okay. Kristi, what would you like to add?
So my perspective is a little different. I'm not going to speak from the perspective of a Bethel as an employer. I'm going to speak more broadly about careers in healthcare in general and share some general talking points. So a couple of things. healthcare is the largest employer industry in the country. In 2018, it surpassed retail and manufacturing to become the largest source of jobs in this country. So regardless of what you pursue in your studies as a student, there's a really good likelihood you're going to land in healthcare, whether you study HR, business, finance, accounting, engineering, anything. And then layer on the fact that you're located in the Twin Cities and you're even more likely to land in healthcare. The Twin Cities is known as the birthplace of medical device with Medtronic and all of the other device manufacturers that have come here and kind of landed here. We're also the third largest health-related startup community in the country, as Aneela can speak to. And the reason for this is because of the great talent pool that exists in this part of the country. We also are known for world-renowned clinical care with Mayo Clinic just to our south. We're home to the world's largest healthcare organization with United Health Group. So all of those reasons mean healthcare is a really likely chance for you to land. And so my encouragement to people would be, if you're interested remotely in healthcare careers, do things to be intentionally preparing for that while you're pursuing your degree of choice. The other thing that I would say is, as you think about like all of the opportunities in healthcare, the way that we kind of categorize them as we talk to students about it is in the 3 Ps. So we would say the product companies, which Aneela and Rob are representing. We have the provider companies, which I would put Cassia in as a direct provider with senior living in that category, but that also includes direct clinical care. So if you're pursuing any sort of clinical care, we would say that's a provider. And then there's a payer. So somebody's got to pay all the bills, and it's kind of those people on the payer side of things. And I think that one of the things, I was looking at one of these questions, and one of the things that I really wanted to say about what kind of differentiates healthcare from every other industry is that payer piece. It's one of the only consumables that I know of where what it costs is not what you're charged, and what you're charged is not necessarily what you pay. And that's mind-boggling to think about. And what you might get charged at one organization is not the same as the other because of the payer contract and negotiation. So it's highly complex. But all of that to say, it means there are nearly endless possibilities for career potential there. So I would say explore broadly. And so I hope that kind of helps a little bit just to set the kind of the broad stage for the career potential in healthcare.